while most people are positioning themselves for a bear market, two Bitcoin billionaires just said 2026 is going to be an insane year for Bitcoin. And one of them even said the S word at Davos. What is the S word? Could we be seeing a Bitcoin super cycle begin this year? I don't know. Before you call me crazy, let's play the clip. I got a few clips for you guys, but I'm going to start with the first one.
With Cathie Wood, who thinks it's going to turn into $1 million a coin?
So whenever people ask that question, I always got to ask them, what's the time frame you're looking at? If you're looking at today, tomorrow, or a daily basis, there's no way I can predict. If you look at a 5-10 year horizon, it's very easy to predict. We're going to go up. If you look at a 1 year horizon, which is like what the most sort of common right. Framework is, 2026, I'm not sure. You may be, I think I have very strong feelings that it will probably be a super cycle.
Be a super cycle?
2026, yeah.
For Bitcoin?
For Bitcoin.
And what super cycle to you means what?
Well, normally Bitcoin follows 4 year cycles historically. If you look at historic data, like every 4 years, there's a all-time high and then there's a drop. But I think this year, given the U.S. being so pro-crypto and every other country is kind of following, I do think we will see this. We will probably break the 4 year right. cycle. Yeah.
We got to go, but just start.
Okay, look, I'm as bullish as anyone. I'm still on the fence on whether the 4 year cycle is still intact or not, but I do like the cause for super cycle coming from CZ. Again, world's largest exchange. I think he's been having a lot of conversations with people. I think this is one of those moments like Saylor that they probably know something that we don't. So just taking this take on its surface, again, also considering the platform that he's at, this is on the news at Davos. I think it's interesting when you just take what he said on just the surface and what he said just in general. Now, I literally said the same thing to a friend yesterday. He's asking me like, yo, what's your price forecast for Bitcoin? I'm like, dude, I don't know. I can't tell you what it's going to do tomorrow. Obviously, you know what I think it's going to do in 5 to 10 years from now. It's really up for probably up until April, where I will be very convinced on where we are in the cycle. I need a little more information. I need a little more time. What's very interesting, though, is usually January is when kind of the tech companies are finally finishing their year. So you could think of January as like the end of Q4 for a lot of companies, and we'll start to see a lot of capital get revamped into the economy around February, March-ish, so in a few months, we'll know exactly what's going on, in my opinion. But again, on the surface level of just hearing what CZ's saying, again, if you don't know who that was, it's CZ from Binance, or he's not necessarily at Binance anymore. Again, he went to jail. And guys, if you watch his whole clip, there was some other crazy stuff he was saying about his recollecting his time in prison. You go look that clip up. I can't play that here, but it was absolutely insane. I was laughing about it this morning. But anyways, he's from Binance. He's basically known as Binance. And that's kind of why you take it on the surface level and you're like, okay, that's interesting to see. Interesting take. He's not the first one to say this, obviously. And we have another clip saying something very similar. But before I go to the next clip, my more conspiratorial take here, the more kind of under the surface level here, is when you understand the dynamics of Binance in general. So you can hear him say, yeah, I think it's a super cycle. But when you kind of look at the data of what's been going on from Binance, I think he's kind of making the case that they're no longer going to be suppressing the Bitcoin price. This could be a signal that, hey, it's time to pack your bags. It's time to get ready. I think it's going to start running because, again, guys, this is why we always tell you every single day, just buy Bitcoin, hodl the Bitcoin, take it in the cold storage. Because if you are on these platforms, these crypto casinos, you are literally trying to beat the house. The house always wins. You are trading against the exchange. I think the dynamic that many people don't understand is, yes, technically, when you're on an exchange, you're trading against other people. But if you've been in the game long enough, you really understand that you're not just trading against other people, maybe with better information. You are trading against the exchange. You are trading against the house. They literally have an open book. They can see all of the trades happening. And they're basically, you're trading against them and they have all the information. You can call me a conspiracy theorist all you want. You can say I'm a, insane person here. But if you've been around long enough, that's kind of what we all know is happening. They'll admit, or rather, they will not admit that they are doing this. You can't convince me otherwise. I think it's very clear that the exchanges right now are trading against their customers. This is why most people lose trading. And then further, trading is a zero-sum game. Like if you are a trader, if you're a normie coming off the street and you think you're going to out trade, the Larry Finks and the Jamie Dimons of the world, and even the CZs or Brian Armstrongs of the world, I think you have another thing coming for you. And that's where this next part kind of comes in, is when you understand the numbers. There's been a lot of speculation, a lot of talk on how Binance seems to be trading against everyone in the market right now, and they really are the ones driving the market currently. And this is where this next post comes in, which is, I think, if you really dig into it again, putting my tinfoil hat on, you guys could take it or leave it. This is kind of what I've been seeing. There's been rumors, or rather speculation for weeks and months, that a lot of the price action we've been seeing has been coming from Binance. Now, this is a funny exchange, but it's really about the chart. Here we have CZ, and he goes, basically after this clip aired, he goes, AI will make you jobless. Crypto will make you not need a job. Buy and hold now, retire in a few years. Raise hand if crypto allowed you to retire already. Not financial advice. I don't necessarily agree with this, but the response is even funnier. And he goes, CZ makes statements like this, but forgets to tell everyone Binance has been the driving factor for the most of Bitcoin's sell pressure since it made all-time highs at $125,000. Almost seems like he's getting paid to make these statements while Binance continues to drive prices lower. And then these exchanges are even funnier. This guy goes, it's another response. He goes, quote, but it's Binance users, not the exchange. He goes, BS. We all know these exchanges trade their funds on their own platform. Why would they use another exchange? Plus, we will never get access to their books, so retail will never get the truth, and supporters will just say it's their users. Now, this is the funniest one. He goes, bro, the type of guy who said this and then orders Binance to liquidate every single position. Oh, man. Dude, when you're objective about this, you got to admit it's actually hilarious out here. Like, we're still in the Wild West. We are still early. When you understand, like, these exchanges are trading against their clients, they see what they're doing, they just liquidate them. Look, I'm not laughing here because, people are losing money. I'm just laughing at everything. Dude, you got to love the quote unquote crypto markets. It's still insane. It's still a lot of fun. Anyways. Let me zoom in on this chart because I think this is really where the data is proven that Binance is, actively dumping the Bitcoin price. Here we have basically since the November 6th dump, in white, we have the Bitcoin price, and you can see all of these exchanges here. The bottom one is Tether, so we won't really look into that one, but it's all priced in Tether, and you can see there. All the big exchanges are here. And literally Binance right here at Nance has sold more than all of the other exchanges combined. A dumping of $22.2 billion of Bitcoin on the exchange. And yeah, some of these other lines do connect pretty good with the price action, but every huge Binance dump is essentially lining up perfectly with the current Bitcoin price action. So when I hear CZ come out and say, yeah, I think we're going into a super cycle, this is kind of what I'm seeing. I'm like, bro, did he just finally admit that they're going to stop suppressing the Bitcoin price? I don't know. That's kind of what I heard. Obviously, on the surface level, you're like, yeah, I'm totally cool with this idea that 2026 is the start of a super cycle. On the flip side, once you know the deeper currents playing out from these exchanges, it sounds like he might have gotten tapped on the shoulder now, even though he's not actually in control of Binance anymore. But I'm guessing the conversations are starting to develop where it's like, okay, at a certain point, we are going to send this. Start to get the signal out there. If you know, it's going to go up. Now, that's the Binance, that's the CZ, that's the first billionaire. Now, let's hear the second billionaire. Here is Michael Saylor recently in the last couple of days. Again, while everyone's been distracted by Davos, we have Saylor essentially also saying he thinks the 4-year cycle is over. He doesn't say super cycle, but he gives the factors for why he thinks that 2026 is going to be a good year.
I think the 4-year cycles were most pronounced in the first 12 years of the existence of Bitcoin, because half of the Bitcoin was mined in the first 4 years, and then 25% of the Bitcoin was mined in the next 4 years, and then 12.5% of the Bitcoin was mined in the next 4 years. But then we got down to 6.25% of the Bitcoin. And so you can see that the amount of Bitcoin being mined and sold on the market by miners is exponentially falling, and the demand and the liquidity in the market is exponentially increasing. So at this point, the amount of Bitcoin being mined is becoming a second order issue. If you go out another 4 to 8 years, it'll be a third order issue. The primary drivers in the market now are structural support from the ETFs. The ETFs are big buyers. They didn't exist 2 years ago, and now they're massive buyers. Bitcoin treasury companies like ours have become massive buyers. As I said, we raised something like 44 to 45 billion in capital in the last 2 years. A third big driver will be banking support. As the banks begin to create credit against Bitcoin, for example, there's only say 16 to 18 billion dollars of Bitcoin that's mined every year for sale. Well, one bank like JP Morgan could create $18 billion worth of Bitcoin-backed credit for their customers in 1 year. So as a big bank comes into the market and they begin to offer loans against Bitcoin or against Bitcoin ETFs, that will be the equivalent of an entire year of Bitcoin mining. And so really the big structural development right now is mega banks in the world beginning to bank Bitcoin and offer credit against it.
Look, I'm not the biggest fan of the Bitcoin credit meme, but I think he is making the point, which is what I've been saying for a while, which is my bull thesis on why I also don't think we are going in a larger Bitcoin correction here. We literally have all of the tailwinds working in our benefit right now. Whether you love the institutions or not, whether you love the ETFs or not, whether you're going to give JP Morgan your Bitcoin for collateral, whether you like Larry Fink going out to Davos and saying we're going to tokenize all the things and we need one blockchain that the world connects to so that we can't be as corrupt as we used to be. It all is, I think, irrelevant to the point that everyone now is starting to get into a Bitcoin position, or at the very least moving towards a Bitcoin position, which is why I keep telling everyone on the show, off the show, that I fundamentally think things have changed since the BlackRock ETF launch, since all the institutions got into Bitcoin, since we're seeing a sovereign level infinite bid here. Things are changing in real time. It's becoming very clear. And remember the conversation we had with Chris last week, where he also agrees when the institutions came into Bitcoin, it fundamentally changed the Bitcoin game. I don't think Bitcoin has necessarily been co-opted on a base layer. I think Bitcoin still does what it does, but we are definitely being driven by the institutions and their appetite for Bitcoin. Again, I used to have this meme back in the day where it was, the y-axis was basically like rich people getting into Bitcoin. That's what really drives the price. And then the x-axis is the amount of people holding Bitcoin. And that's what really, lifts the Bitcoin price up and to the right. And I think this is where we are right now. The institutions have finally entered the Bitcoin space. They can buy so much Bitcoin that all of us measly plebs and laymen can't even come close to combined unless there's millions of us. They're driving the Bitcoin market right now. Yes, you could say it's been co-opted. in terms of price. You could say maybe they're suppressing the Bitcoin price so that they get a better position. But the fundamental thesis of Bitcoin, I don't think has been broken. I think it's still what we thought it was. Even Hal Finney in the early days was essentially saying, this is the day we've been waiting for the institutions, all the banks, for everyone to embrace it. And Bitcoin transactions on the base layer are going to be as rare today as they are in the future, which means no one's really using it unless you are these mega institutions and you need a final settlement layer. And we'll be transacting on layer 2s or even layer 3s or whatever. And I think this is what's happening. Yes, on one level, you're like, okay, the cypherpunk roots perspective of everyone transacting in Bitcoin, maybe that's not the road that Bitcoin is headed down to. But if you are holding Bitcoin in self-custody, if you transact in Bitcoin, I think the idea that Bitcoin's going to be used as money, I think it's still all in play. I think it's still all working out exactly as designed. Saylor's making the case that all the ETFs, institutions, banks, everyone getting into Bitcoin is really what's going to break the 4-year cycle. I kind of agree with him, as much as it pains me to say that I agree with him. Hold on. I think things are fundamentally changing, though right now, currently, I'm looking at the price and I'm like, you know, I'm not so bullish when you look at the charts, especially when you're looking at Bitcoin price and gold. It is starting to look like a bear market's playing out. It's starting to build out. I still need a little time to fully be convinced and vindicated, but I think it's an interesting time. I think this is the most interesting time to be in Bitcoin. But I do want to comment on what comment that I saw earlier before I commented on Saylor. Someone was it was Ken B goes, conspiracy my A, try fact in regards to the exchanges trading against us. So look, whether you're bearish or bullish right now, I think it all defeats the purpose. You need to make sure that you are stuck in, or rather, honed in and focused on what you want to do. If you are just trading Bitcoin based on whatever whim you have every day when you wake up, you are going to lose. You need a long-term thesis here, which from our perspective is obviously accumulate more Bitcoin, hold it for the long term, not wake up on a whim. You see the price drop. You're like, oh, I need to sell out now, or it's pumping. Now I need to sell out and get my Lambo. That's not what this is about. Yes, you can do that. I'm not here to tell you what to do with your money, but you need to have a long-term trading perspective. I hate to even use the T word there, but you need to understand what you are doing here so that you do not get shaken out. Because I think a lot of people are definitely positioning themselves for, oh, we're going to have an even bigger drop. And I have in the culture later on in the show, I'm going to make it even further case for why I don't think we're going to drop even more. I think this sideways action we've been seeing is kind of where we are right now. At a certain point, we're going to break up to the upside. But again, what do I know? Who knows what's going to happen from the Trump administration? They might come out and do some other tariffs that are going to nuke and scare the markets. But I think from what we're seeing in gold and silver, which I'm going to cover a little later because unprecedented stuff happening in precious metals right now, you're starting to, I don't know, this should all start to make you feel like, okay, things are happening right now. And I definitely need to position myself before the music stops. That's kind of what I would be advising to everyone. You don't want to just like wake up in the morning and make your position. So this is why I'm really leaning into what CZ and Michael Saylor are both saying. They're both billionaires, both Bitcoiners. You could probably argue that they aren't. They do come from different sides, but they are also basically saying the same thing at this point. Now, on the Saylor front, we all understand why Saylor's saying what he's saying. If you understand what he's been doing and how panicked he is in buying as much Bitcoin as possible, I think it's because he's having a lot of conversations with people and he knows what's coming down the pipeline. And in his mind, he's like, there's no way we are going to go down to, I don't know, 40, 80K. Now, that doesn't mean in the short term we don't see some kind of price volatility, but it means that we probably won't be down there for that long. We might see some kind of black swan drop, and then we are off to the races. That's what I've been seeing. Of course, CZ over at Binance, shitcoin extravagant, and all the conversations he's having with nation states, I think when you understand the context of all this, like CZ's talking to nation states, sovereign wealth funds, they're probably telling him, I want to buy Bitcoin. Michael Saylor's talking to institutions and hedge fund managers. They're telling him they want Bitcoin. Again, we are in a new era where the institutions, where I hate to even use it, the smart money is trying to position themselves into Bitcoin. And here we are, everyone in the chat, us on YouTube, everyone on Bitcoin Twitter has no idea what's going on. Everyone's, infighting. Everyone's saying we're going into a bear market. And I'm just like, I'm trying to get the signal through all the noise. And I'm like, from my perspective, I think they're going to pump the shit out of this thing. I think 2026 might be the year that everything fundamentally changes and we're in uncharted waters. Things are going up. Everything in the market, I think, might end up going up. I think we're going to follow what we saw in gold and silver. It's just, there's an order of effects here. Bitcoin still at this moment, and there was a good video on Twitter. I don't know if you guys saw it, but there was a good video on Twitter from a former BlackRock fund manager, and he was basically talking about what was going on in gold and silver. And he was saying, like, look, if you're being objective and you're looking at the markets, gold and silver are running. They're basically the debasement trade right now. Bitcoin is a part of that conversation, but as of now, they haven't gone into Bitcoin. And I think that goes back to what I keep telling everyone. It's because they're comfortable with gold. They're comfortable with silver. Bitcoin is still farther on the risk scale there, and they're not that comfortable with getting into Bitcoin yet, but it's very normal for them, or at least the idea is very normal for them to be like, yeah, maybe I'm afraid of treasuries. Again, Japan right now in a lot of trouble. No one seems to want treasuries right now. They're looking for places to position themselves so that they are hedged, so they feel protected. Their first step is obviously going to be into gold and silver. That's just like, be objective here. You're not going to see central banks be like, okay, we're afraid of holding all of our debt, your debt, in this uncertain time. We're just going to go skip, gold and go straight into Bitcoin. It's like, it's not how it's going to work. But gold and arguably even silver and Bitcoin, we are all part of the same family. It is the hard money asset, hard money trade, the debasement trade. It is happening as we speak. It's just going to take a little time for that information to, or rather, not even the information, because I think the information's out there. It's going to take a little time for people to feel comfortable with putting a significant amount of their portfolio, their savings into Bitcoin, especially when they are so afraid. That's where we are right now. I'm hoping 2026 is going to be the year. I think it's going to be an interesting year. Let me see. Might have to wait till 2027. Yeah, you might be right. I think, and actually, silver lining, again, let me pull that up. I wasn't going to talk about this, but you made a good point. 2027 might be the year. So anyways, I brought up the Bitcoin and gold chart. I'm going to pull it up real quick. Even if you are on the side that Bitcoin is in a bear market, which if you're looking at the gold chart, is not too crazy to think. So here's the gold chart, or Bitcoin priced in gold. This is the monthly chart. Don't mind my lines here. It is what it is. Look at the dates here. So here is when Bitcoin in 2021 broke all-time high, ran to all-time high, aligned perfectly with the Bitcoin price in dollars. It did a double top. What was double top? 2021, hit bottom 2023. Let's see, October 21, hit bottom December of 2022. So about a year dropping. And then it started to make its run up April 24th. Anyways, here's the last top, October, December, November, October, when Bitcoin was making a run, but then gold started to make its run. And so we kind of double top. If we're using this still 4-year cycle idea, which arguably you could say that gold or Bitcoin price and gold still working out, that means we basically, as we've been saying for a while, might have been in a bear market all of 2025. And if that's the case, then 2026, we might be seeing the price start to gain some ground on gold. So it could be that 2027 is the year that we really start ripping. But if we see some positive price action in 2026, I think that will basically put the 4-year cycle meme to rest finally. And I think we're all in agreement. I think we're saying the same thing. Yes, I am another blah blah guy. Dude, we know this. This is the entertainment show on Friday. This is me being bullish on Friday. Anyways, I got a clip for you guys in the numbers of Scott Bessent at Davos, which I think is hilarious. And it really goes into the theme that I kind of took away from Davos. And then in the news, we're going to be talking about silver and gold. And then in culture, I'm going to make the case why I don't think further we're going into a bear market. So I'll be right back, guys. See you in 1 minute.
Today's episode is brought to you by Bitcoin Well Infinite. If you're a serious Bitcoin buyer, you've probably hit the same wall. Most platforms make you give up custody just to play by the rules. Bitcoin Well Infinite fixes that. They're North America's only publicly traded, non-custodial OTC desk listed on the TSX Venture Exchange, which means transparent operations and zero counterparty risk.
You buy Bitcoin, you take immediate control, period. For trades over $50,000, you get a dedicated executive Bitcoin advisor, competitive spread starting at 1%, and immediate delivery straight to your own wallet. No custody risk, no withdrawal fees, just institutional grade execution with full asset control. If you want to buy Bitcoin the right way, book a free consultation at bitcoinwell.com/OTC or email infinite@bitcoinwell.com.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, StampSeed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed phrases really secure? StampSeed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need for you to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them down on paper. Paper is fragile. Titanium plates are strong. Your words are actually stamped into the titanium plate with this hammer and these letter stamping tools. Once the words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. And now you can customize your titanium seed plates. You can upload your design or logo and they will laser engrave it on the back of your seed plate, the opposite side of where the words are. Stamp your seed on StampSeed and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the stampseed.com store.
All right, chat. Chat's cooking today. Here we go. The current Bitcoin price is $90,760. It is a 28.1% discount from all-time high. And the current market cap, hey, we're back to 1.81 trillion. Dude, the 1.8 trillion has really been holding strong. It doesn't feel as good as saying 2 trillion, but, you know, it's kind of been holding on. You know, shouts out to that 1.81 trillion psychological number. And the block height is the only time that matters. The block height, TikTok next block, 933,546. Okay, so I really feel, especially after yesterday's show, that we kind of put the Davos idea to rest, right? I covered it on, what was it, Wednesday. I did a whole interview with Tom Luongo yesterday about Davos, why they've lost control, why they're still fighting. There's been some pretty funny clips coming out of it, particularly Scott Bessent. In this interview here, it was like a post recap interview with, I think it's with Politico. Yeah, it is. It's with Politico in Davos at the U.S. House. He was saying some unhinged funny things. Like, Scott Bessent is low-key actually hilarious. But this one, I think, sums up what my view is, kind of viewing what I saw at the Davos conference, World Economic Forum. I didn't watch everything, full disclosure. I didn't watch every speech. But from a lot of the clips, and obviously you could say they were cherry-picked, I caught one theme here. And it was that it looked like a lot of the speeches coming out of the World Economic Forum was them backtracking on everything they've been saying for a long time. They used to say that we need to cut back on energy. Everything needs to be, carbon neutral. We need to go green. Now they're like, AI data centers are the future, bro. We need more data centers. We need more energy. They used to say, stuff on the weather, climate. Now they're admitting to geoengineering. Like, they used to talk about, hey, you're going to own nothing and be happy. And Trump goes in there and he's like, we will not be a nation of renters. We got Howard Lutnick going in and being like, pointing at everyone, hey, bros, like, globalism has failed. Here's the facts. We have everyone kind of shitting on a lot of the stuff in the mandates coming out of EU. We have literally Germany admitting that their move towards everything but nuclear was an extreme failure. Like, I don't think they have fully admitted defeat, but they are changing the narratives. And I don't know if you guys caught that Klaus Schwab clip, which I was thinking about playing for you guys today, but he did not an officially sanctioned World Economic Forum interview, but he did kind of a pregame interview for it. And he very clearly admitted that, hey, we have lost trust. People are losing trust in us. No one cares about our narratives anymore. And we need to do whatever we can to regain that trust. Larry Fink's opening statement as the new head of the World Economic Forum said the exact same thing. It's like, hey, we've asset stripped planet Earth, and now the plebes don't trust us. We need to regain that trust. Maybe capitalism has failed. And it's like, bro, you can't come out here and be like, forget about the last couple of years, guys. Hey, look, we were wrong. Forget about it. Well, hey, we didn't know what we were saying. Look, bro, trust us. We got this, okay? That's like that's kind of the biggest takeaway that I got. But let's watch the Scott Bessent clip, because it's honestly just kind of funny.
We've seen the lack of energy security from this manic push for net zero, which I think we've seen in some recent scientific journals has been pushed back. Even Bill Gates is saying 1 degree, 2 degrees, 3 degrees. I'm not sure it matters. If you look at what he's doing with his own money, it looks like he believes we're going to innovate our way out of any perceived climate problems. So I think that's on one side. And then again, I think we almost reached a Saturday Night Live moment a few years ago when it was, you're not going to own anything, you're going to eat insects. I mean, it was just the inmates were running the asylum at that point.
You're not into the bugs?
Well, I can tell you, after a few days of Swiss German food, I may switch to bugs. I'm bringing
brutal, Mr. Secretary.
Yo, you guys gotta watch that conversation. Scott Bessent was making some funnies. Like, low key, he's actually kind of funny. I've become kind of a fan of Scott Bessent. But look, is that not a perfect kind of zeitgeist of what we saw at Davos this year? And then we don't even have to like dive into all of the kind of on street interviews or the James O'Keefe stuff. Like, I truthfully feel like they might not have another World Economic Forum next year. Now, I know that's probably like the craziest thing I'll say on the show. I know that's a stretch, but after this year, it's hard to believe that they're going to do another clown show next year. Like, this was top tier bread and circus. Whether they meant it or not, it was a clown show. It's hard to see how they're going to come back next year and be like, we have all the authority here. Like, trust us, bro. But he said it perfectly. They will own nothing and be happy. They will eat the bugs. You will live in a 15-minute city. Like, all of that's been completely wiped from memory. Now, like I said, the AI greed's popping up. They're like, we need more energy. Like, hey, look, we were wrong. We need more energy. We need more data centers. We need to make better cat videos on Twitter because this AI thing is taking over the world. I think fundamentally, most of the narratives that have ever came out of Davos, I think they're completely nuked. Now, the real kind of question from here is what are the new narratives going to be and how do we move forward from here? Because from my perspective, obviously, I think it's what we're doing. It is the Bitcoin standard. It is proof of work. It is a world built on property rights, a world that fights against inflation versus, a world that takes a little more personal freedom, which is probably the biggest ask out of all of this, versus a top-down structure where the elites fly on the private jets and then scold us about our energy use. Is like that. I think the facade is really crumbling in real time. Now, one of the probably the most interesting trolls that I saw on Twitter was the whole, I don't know if you guys saw, but like Katy Perry is dating Justin Trudeau now, and literally no one cared what Justin Trudeau was saying. And she's out here talking about like the environment and energy use and stuff. And did everyone forget that she literally did a supposed space tourism exploration with Jeff Bezos, which I'm sure is probably worse for the environment than anything all of us have done combined. And yet she's out here with Justin Trudeau like, listen to me, I'm a pop singer that just went to space for tourism. And you got to watch your energy use. It's just like the narratives, the rhetoric, it does seem like it has collapsed on its own weight. Now, I don't think it's going to be completely over. I think they are going to fight even harder, and the backlash might be even worse, and even the social media censorship might become even worse. But it does seem like that old narrative is completely out the window. And remember, Larry Fink was one of the leading charges on ESG narratives, completely out of the playbook now. Now he's head of the World Economic Forum. I didn't hear too much stuff about ESG narratives this year. It's a new time. Now, I don't have as much faith as maybe like the average person in what the World let me pull that back. I don't think the average person even knows what the World Economic Forum is, but I don't have as much faith in the quote unquote elites at the World Economic Forum, like the people that attend it, to actually meaningfully change the world for the positive. But I do think this is positive if the narratives are shifting, if they're collapsing. I think that gives us time for us to start to spread the message, and people might be more, I don't want to say awake, but more ready to hear an alternative. And I think it's all positive. I hate to say it, but I think we really might be winning. Anyways, let's go into the news. We're going to talk about precious metals.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Ledin, the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. Unlock the liquidity in your Bitcoin without having to sell your Bitcoin. They've issued $9 billion in loans to over 10,000 customers since 2018. I absolutely love these guys. Not only do I have an account with them, but I also have a loan. And what I love about them is that there are no monthly payments, and you could pay back the loan at any time. As soon as you send your Bitcoin as collateral, you'll have cash in your account within 24 hours. Over 1,000 five-star customer reviews, and they've never lost a single dollar or sat of customer money. Go to learn.ledin.io/simply today, and you'll get 0.25% off your first loan. I want to give a shout out to our partner, sat123.com. Sovereignty isn't just about your money. It's about your communications too. When the grid goes down, most people go dark. Cell towers fail in hurricanes, cyber attacks, and blackouts. But satellite phones, they don't rely on local infrastructure. Iridium has 77 satellites in orbit, giving you a direct line anywhere in the US, even offshore. If you hold your own Bitcoin keys, you should hold your own comms too. Sat123.com also has everything you need to start building your Bitcoin citadel. Starlink, battery backups, Faraday bags to protect your hardware wallets, and much, much more. It's a one-stop shop for anyone serious about resilience and off-grid independence. Stay connected, stay independent, stay sovereign. Go to sat123.com/simply today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store. I want to give a shout out to our partner, BitKey. If you already self-custody your Bitcoin, you know the deal with hardware wallets by now. Complex setups, clumsy interfaces, and a seed phrase that can be lost, stolen, or forgotten. Bitkey fixes that. Bitkey is a multi-sig hardware wallet built by the team behind Square and Cash App. It packs a cryptographic recovery system and built-in inheritance feature into an intuitive, easy-to-use wallet with no seed phrase to sweat over. It's simple, secure, self-custody without the stress. Time named Bitkey one of the best inventions of 2024. Get 20% off at bitkey.world. That's BITKEY.world with the code SIMPLY.
All right, guys. You're freaking out about the space comet. As you guys know, I am a globetard. I believe in space, okay? Maybe that's one of my many faults, but chill out in the chat. Okay. Anyways, there is, I think, a huge saga going on in precious metals right now. And it's really, I think, exemplified by what's going on with silver currently. So silver, actually, I was joking this morning, and I'll throw out the troll first. I was like, man, I really should have gone all in on silver like the Wall Street bets guys were saying. The silver squeeze. The silver squeeze did finally happen. It just took them a couple of years. Man, they were so right. Man, they were so right. All right, anyways, if you've been watching what's going on in the silver markets, silver just broke $100 per ounce for the first time ever. So this was the chart this morning. I'll pull up the the current chart. But if you recall what yesterday's podcast was about, the Davos, City of London stuff, the sterling pound, silver pound, it really, I think, all connects, especially when you connect the gold price, which is also basically at all-time high. Silver, well, there was the meme that silver and gold were going to pass 500 or $5,100 at the same time. It didn't really play out exactly like that, but silver or gold is still pumping. But you're starting to see that people are very clearly not wanting to hold government debt or treasuries, as is exemplified in Japan right now. People are dropping Japanese debt like hotcakes. Bond yields are spiking. It's really not a good sign for the global economy. Again, you go to Japan, or as people call it, the yen carry trade. You go to Japan, you get really cheap debt, you invest that everywhere else. Well, now that debt isn't so cheap, and it looks like they're making wholesale changes in Japan right now to try to figure out how to dampen the bond yields right now. So all of this is combined currently, which is essentially saying that the debasement trade is happening in real time. People do not want treasuries. They do not want government debt. They do not want fiat currencies unless you have no idea what's going on and you're just, living paycheck to paycheck, and you think the dollar is a good way to store your value, basically because you don't have that much value. So you're just like, I got this much money. I need this much money to survive. I don't even have any excess. It's a vicious cycle. But if you are an institutional manager, if you are someone with deep pockets, if you're a trader, someone that actually holds real capital, you're looking at what's going on in gold, silver, and bond yields right now. And this is making you feel like you probably need to find a chair before the music stops. Most people are still comfortable with gold and silver, hence why silver is, going to $100 right now. And I'll pull up the real, actually, I'm going to pull up this one because the whole story isn't so much that silver is hitting $100 in the US, is that there's a huge spread between what we are selling or buying our silver at currently in the US and then what's going on in Shanghai or in China right now. And here you can see the Shanghai silver has exploded to a record 112. I think it's actually higher now, doubling since November. And you can see the spread is just starting to go nuts. So there is a huge spread between what's going on in the West and what's going on in the East right now surrounding silver. And it looks like what Tom Luongo was saying yesterday about whether you want to call it the Trump administration or the entire world is calling the City of London's bluff right now. And since they're still technically somehow in control of silver because of the silver pound. Everyone is trying to onshore their silver. There's not that much silver going around, and you're starting to see the price spike up so that people can get their deliveries of their silver. From what I'm seeing and hearing, it looks like there is really not that much silver to be had right now. And then you also add gold in there, which is, it's just like the debasement trade, precious metals, hard money right now. It is the trade. That's what anyone that is smart knows what's going on is doing, is they're trying to secure something that's going to store their value. Now, here is the current silver price. I have it on the monthly just because it looks absolutely ridiculous. And it is currently $101.11. So it's still running. Silver's still running. It's going absolutely parabolic. I don't want to say that it's going to retrace yet, because who knows how high it's going to go. But I think anyone that looks at a chart like this, it just like intuitively knee-jerk reaction, you're just like, that is totally not a sustainable rally. At some point, whatever goes up has to go down. And you're seeing right now, the silver squeeze, the Wall Street bet silver squeeze is finally happening. It's just a couple of years late, which also kind of reminds me, did you guys see that GameStop is selling all their Bitcoin right now? They got caught up in the hype. They're selling a lot of the majority, if not all of their Bitcoin right now. I'm just wondering, are they selling it silver right now? Did the GameStop silver Wall Street bets meme play out a couple of, or when was that? Was that 4 years later? Is that what we're going to be doing? Are we going to be sitting here 4 years? Like, it's going to go to 100K. It's going to go to 200K soon. Anyways, sorry, I change it. But I do want to, before I show you the gold markets, actually, I'll show you the gold market and then I'll read this tweet. Again, here's the gold price. It's currently at all-time high. It's $4,982. Everyone's like, it's going to $500 or $5,000 probably at some point. I don't know if it's going to be today, could be next week. But the fact we are seeing gold go to 5K, silver go to $100, bond yields start to explode, which is essentially people are selling bonds. And the only way to incentivize them to sell it is if the bond yields go up. But if the bond yields go up too much, then the fiat implodes. And it's not just what happens in Japan. It's not like we could just be like, oh, they're on a small island. It doesn't matter what they do. No, they are intricately connected to every global economy in the world. So if Japan blows up, there's going to be a lot of problems everywhere. It's really going to ripple into the global economy. So this is all saying to me that the hard money debasement trade is in full force. I'm not going to say, because I said it before, and I think by now I'm like kind of wrong. Maybe I'm just early, but I'm not going to say that some of that is going to, go into Bitcoin yet. But at a certain point, we do know it's going to do that. Or rather, as people slide down the risk scale, it will eventually end up in Bitcoin. So this is where James Lavish comes in. And I really like this tweet. And I think this is like the perfect, bow tie to this conversation. And he goes, are you paying attention? Gold is up roughly 80% in 1 year. Platinum is up 175%. And silver up an eye-watering 200% plus in 1 year. The debasement trade is not just on, it is ripping people's faces off. And so the next question is not if, but when does Bitcoin resume higher? And here you go, 1 year percentage gains versus the US dollar, gold, platinum, silver. It's happening. It's like it's literally like the office meme. Guys, it's happening. It's happening. It's currently happening. Now, going further, for all the salty people out there, for all the silver bugs, gold bugs that are like pointing the fingers and telling Bitcoiners, you're an idiot. No one wants to buy Bitcoin. We're still doing really good here. So he goes, for those claiming that Bitcoin has, quote, already failed to protect against debasement, I would suggest you zoom out a bit. Bitcoin is still only second to silver in the debasement trade in the last 5 years. Silver just got its run. Bitcoin's still holding up. So, guys, we're still in the race. We are still in the race. I think it's only a matter of time until we start to see Bitcoin start to rip as well. It is all happening exactly as designed. Now, I think what you need to do is kind of look at this a little differently. Yes, you could sit here and get mad and wonder why Bitcoin isn't running yet. And I thought the Bitcoin thesis was a debasement trade. I thought it was a hedge against fiat collapse. You know, Bitcoin should be running like gold and silver. You could sit here and do that. I think the more productive view of this is, hey, we still get Bitcoin on a 28% discount when we know what's going to happen. We know where it's going to lead to. We know what is happening on a high level view of what's going on in the economy. We have all the signals showing us that this is exactly happening. It's no longer just a thesis. This is what's happening. That's like the main point. This is happening now. The debasement trade is finally on. It is happening. And you get to hold and buy Bitcoin at a 28% discount. Like this is the easiest thing to do possible with all the information that we have available to us. All you have to do is buy some Bitcoin and wait it out. Honestly, like this is the best time to be buying Bitcoin. I think it's only a matter of time. Will it be in 2026? I'm not sure. Will it be in 2027? The odds are probably better, but it's a no-brainer. It's happening right now. It's on. You guys are locked in. We're locked in. We've been making I've been making the case on this show for, I believe, probably over a year that this was going to happen. It happened a little quicker than I thought it was, and it happened a lot more aggressive than I thought it would, but it's happening right now. It's going to happen with Bitcoin. Trust, it's going to rip. It's going to rip. Anyways, let's keep it moving. Hold on. Come on, guys. Yes. Honestly, Chris, this is like the biggest takeaway. Most of the world still sees gold as a flight to safety. We're still so early in terms of global Bitcoin adoption. Like, we're still the nutcases at the table, guys. Yes, the institutions are starting to look at us like, oh, maybe those kids aren't so crazy. Maybe there is something to this blockchain thing. We're literally just chilling. You know, like we're we're the freaks and geeks at the lunch table, like doing all the crazy stuff. And they're like, yeah, I don't know if I want to go sit at that table yet, but they seem like they're having a lot of fun. Anyways, let's keep it moving. Wait. Oh, yeah. Sorry, bro. Yeah, even copper is ripping. Literally all the commodities are ripping right now. It's like, could it be any more obvious? Is really what I'm saying right now. Like, could it be any more obvious that this is exactly what's happening? I really don't think so. So have a little patience, lower the time preference, keep stacking the coin, keep stacking the corn. We are literally... Yeah, seriously, Ron, for reals. We are literally still being laughed at by central bankers at Davos. And everything that they built their worldview on, their finances on, is like burning in the background. Everything is pumping, and they're laughing at us like, huh, you guys think you guys are competition to central bank money? We're like, bro, like it's over for you. We just got to chill out. We just got to wait and stack coin. Anyways, I've been ranting a little long on this. So last commercial break. I'll be right back.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technologies. Fueled by clean energy, HIVE has quadrupled its global Bitcoin mining footprint and channels that same scale into high performance compute, where their AI cloud is now ranked #1 in the world for network performance. At HIVE, you've got dual engines, Bitcoin and AI humming, roaring, accelerating in unison. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable digital infrastructure. You can catch the latest buzz at HIVE Digital Tech or at HIVEdigitaltech.com. I want to give a shout out to our partner, BitcoinBend.io. If you're into freedom, Bitcoin, and building a real community, this is for you. Gain exclusive access to real-world, members-only, private clubs across the globe, featuring poker nights, expert-led classes, co-working spaces, educational meetups, live events, and more. Current locations include Sarasota, Nashville, Boston, Dallas, Las Vegas, and St. Louis, with new clubs launching soon in West Palm Beach, Scottsdale, Alabama, and beyond. Not to mention Bitcoin Ben's resorts in El Salvador. There's 3 of them, and they're absolutely beautiful. You'll also get access to the first fully backed Bitcoin bank with fiat ramps and savings accounts. It's called Private Key Bank. And you guessed it, it's based out of El Salvador. Go peer-to-peer with Bitcoin bulk buys. Tap into home equity for long-term Bitcoin growth. And join their exclusive mining pools if you're interested in mining. What are you waiting for? Head over to bitcoinben.io. Join today, where Bitcoin meets freedom.
All right, guys. I'm going to wrap up today's show with a little bit of some more hopium for you guys. It is the Friday show. You know me, I stay bull-tarded. We'll have a little fun here. I saw this tweet. I really like James Van Straten. He's, I think, really given a lot of good signal here. He tweeted this one. Is this the right one? Yes. I'll zoom in a little bit here, but he goes, a 75% drawdown is inconsistent with a market where volatility has structurally collapsed for 3 years, and this cycle is operating under a fundamentally different market structure. So I made the case in the beginning that I also believe this is a fundamentally different market structure. AKA the institutions are here. They are, messing with the spot price here in whatever way you want to say that, whether it's just paper Bitcoin, whether it is pure price manipulation, naked shorts, whatever mechanism, they fundamentally have changed the game, and they're laughing at us here. They're like these kids, these amateurs. We just come in and do Wall Street things, and they're getting cooked. Anyways, let's look at the chart though. It is very interesting. So here we got Bitcoin volatility on BitMEX. You can see the volatility has absolutely been neutered, which is what we've been hearing coming out of Saylor for over a year now. Not only just Saylor, but all of the big Bitcoin asset managers or digital asset managers. They've all been saying a very similar idea that since the institutions got in, we should expect less volatility in the market. Now, does that mean volatility is going to be completely gone? I don't think so. What it means is they have been able to neuter Bitcoin volatility for better or for worse, which means, yes, maybe if it doesn't get more volatile to the upside, we're going to not see crazy parabolic runs. It also means we're probably not going to see huge bear market drawdowns either, which from a trade-off level, I'm probably more okay with. I still need my dopamine. I still need the number go up for me to feel anything in life. I'm dead inside. I got a tiny Grinch heart, and it's just drying up even more. I need some I need some number go up nourishment. But you can see the data is showing us the volatility has been completely cooked. It's neutered. It hasn't been there. So that's like the first case of we're probably not going to go, what didn't he go say? 30K, 40K, maybe 58K, maybe. So that's kind of like, I don't think we're dropping more. Yeah, maybe there'd be some volatility on the short term, but I don't see it dropping to some crazy levels where we're all going to be freaking out and losing our shit. Now, we have brought this up before, and bringing this back up, it is very interesting that these two charts look almost identical. Again, here's the Bitcoin price with the ISM or the business cycle. And basically around the exact same time, it's been neutered. And essentially for you guys looking at this, when the ISM cycle is below 50, it's contraction. When it's above 50, it's expansion, which means, more liquidity. People feel better. People spend money. people want to buy risk assets, and we haven't seen that since 2023. So I think combining these two charts here, they look damn near identical. Ever since 2023, there's been nothing in the market. Hence why, even though Bitcoin went to all-time high at 126K in October, in the face of literally no volatility and no expansion on the business cycle, it's quite incredible, to be honest. And so once we do finally get some expansion again, whether it's from money printer for the elections, whether it's Jerome Powell money printing, whether it's the Japanese economy money printing, whether it's the Chinese money printing, the expansion, I think, brings back all of the fun in Bitcoin. And the biggest takeaway is Bitcoin, again, for better or worse, since the institutions are here, it is growing up. It has grown up. It is a macro asset now. It is in the larger macro conversation, which is why it has been kind of correlated to, the stock market, to NASDAQ, to S&P 500, to, wow, excuse me, choked on my saliva, to what Trump says about tariffs. The very people, the new investors that change the Bitcoin market structure, the institutions, they look at this stuff and this is what they base their trades on. So if they are scared of whatever macro factors, first thing they do is not only do they sell their most saleable product, their most saleable investment, but they start to sell their most risky investments. And for better or worse, guys, Bitcoin is still considered a risky asset. For us, it's a risk-off asset. For most people, it's still a risk-on asset. It's still treated like a high beta tech stock, which just means, like, if you're going to get returns, when you get returns on tech, you probably get a higher return on Bitcoin. So people are contracting right now, as the data is showing us. They're consolidating into the things that they already know, which is gold and silver or other commodities. And at a certain point, once we start to get that expansion, which you could argue maybe the Trump administration is working towards that way, the game's back on. Right now, it's like the car, it's like the trash truck moving through the street and we're all on pause. And once it finally once we clear out all the trash out of the system, it's game on, boys. Who knows how long that's going to take? But that's my theory. I'm sticking to it. So here we are. Let's see. All right, Ron, I hear you. I hear you about the ads. Okay. Let me see. There was a good one here. My boy. My boy. It's so over. I'm not going to lie. I was joking this morning. It's so over. I was looking at the silver chart. I'm like, it's so over. I should have bought silver. Oh, man. All right. All right, guys. Anyways, I could sit here all day, but hey, it's Friday. Let's just stack some sats, have a good weekend, eat some good food, call your loved ones, all that good stuff. We made it through another week. What is this? Is this third week of the year? 3 of 52 down? Is it? I think it's 3 of 52 down. We got a long ways to go, boys. We got a long ways to go. All right, man. I will see you guys on Monday. I don't know what the schedule is going to be like next week. Nico may or may not be back. I have no clue. All you got to know is I will be here. Okay. I'll be here with whoever shows up with me. Fourth week. Okay. 4th week of 52. Still got a long ways to go, guys. We still got a long ways to go. No meme review, dude. I am the meme now. I'm the walking meme. The whole show is a meme. If you know, you know. All right, guys. Peace out. I will see you guys on Monday. Till then, it's been your boy Opti. Have a good weekend. I love you guys. Peace.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.